Boonton render the historical elements within these districts as public trust resources that the Historic Preservation Commission is charged with protecting, restoring, and enhancing. Commission review and approval are required for any municipal permits involving signage and the construction or renovation of building facades. Commission adheres to established guidelines of the Secretary of the Interior standards for the rehabilitation of historic properties and its review procedures. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, Ian. Would you please take roll call?
Zeke Balin.
Here.
Jeff Smith, absent. Ian Brasso, present. Patricia Buchtas.
Here.
Adrian Yoga, absent. Elliot Ruga, absent. Robert Salvo,
Present.
Anthony Scandariano,
Present.
Victor Morvillo.
Here. All right, thank you. We have first item on the agenda is the application, or minutes rather. I was absent in November. I know these were, do we have a motion to approve the minutes or we could carry them to the next meeting?
I know I sent them out late. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at them?
I looked at them. I would say that we should accept them.
Okay,
I motion that we accept them.
I would second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Now, thank you. Sorry, the first application is for 707 Main Street. Patty, Anthony, did you have a chance to see the updated PDF? Ian's got it on the screen now.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
So we don't have the applicant here, but it looks like they're adding, they want to add the lighting.
The 5 goosenecks.
Right. To the top of the sign.
You ever read the actual sign? Oh. That was last November. Oh, so okay.
This application was before us in November. Originally for the sign, it looked as if it was going to be an internally lit sign, and that was their initial intent. However, we informed them that that was against our ordinance. So this, and that they could reapply with external lighting for the external part. We approved the sign in with the condition that it was not internally lit, and for them to fix the typo on their sign, which cigarettes is spelled incorrectly. However, it does not appear that they fixed that, at least not in this rendering. I did not have a chance to take a look at the sign, but the sign
It's still wrong.
is still wrong on the sign.
The actual
Yeah.
sign is wrong? Yeah.
But
Only one R.
yeah. So and they've come back this month for the external lighting.
Oh, that way somewhere planned, right?
I mean, I would propose, so just to kick things off, that you know, as would be similar to a construction permit or an application for a building permit, that you know, the signage has to be compliant with the previous our conditions of the previous meeting. So if there is a typo in the actual sign, we could not approve any further application by this applicant until that's corrected. Sort of like you have to be conforming before you can, you know, ask for more. That's just one I would propose if, and I might also say that in general, I think the, you know, the downlights, the gooseneck lights would be nice, would be fine, but maybe there's an opportunity here that if they make that correction for the to allow the goosenecks, they can also redesign the signage so that it actually works with the goosenecks. And the,
Yeah, because right now it blocks.
that's right.
The requirement of limit there, one of the issues. Can't go past the signs.
We don't have, my guess is that if the rendering is correct, they can't put the lamps above the sign because of the windows.
Right.
And it also might be a bigger call, like the building owner may not approve the wiring through the brick would be more difficult as well.
Unless
So
the gooseneck goes up, the gooseneck is the part that covers.
they could actually get, right, a
And then
larger,
the light is actually at the top of the screen.
right.
Top of the sign, I'm sorry.
I'm sure they could find a fixture that could work. My thought is too, if I remember from what I've seen on the street, this is not just, this actually has the depth to be backlit, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thought is just that it's probably not that, if they just have to replace the vinyl of the, like acrylic insert for the signage, to adjust the lettering, and we're going to ask them to do that anyway, to correct the typo, then, yeah, it seems like maybe they have an opportunity to coordinate the text with the fixture.
Placement.
Yeah,
But I think yeah, because the problem is it's gonna have to be, in order to do that and have all 5 lights, it's gonna be tight. I think it'd be better if they adjust the actual fixture so that the top of the actual rim of the light that is at the very top of the sign. So it does this. Like a bell curve.
it's actually, I didn't realize I mean, if that's correct, it's 16 and a half feet wide.
It's a long sign.
Yeah,
That's why there's 5 lights.
yeah, wow.
I mean, it's the length of the building. Almost.
That's almost 4 feet between lights.
Yeah.
So my guess is also that this rendering is not that accurate in terms of
It's not
scale, right? That's
Yeah,
what this
16.5.
diagram says.
Yeah.
Any comments from Anthony or Patty?
Well, first of all, it's really hard for me to hear the gentleman speaking. Daniel, you're loud and clear, but the other gentleman, I'm having trouble hearing, but that's okay.
That's because I didn't turn the microphone on because.
Oh, okay.
User error, sorry.
But I definitely agree. I mean, this these overhead lights are like directly on the sign and not above the sign, and that has to be addressed. And the spelling of this, the words have to be clear. I was like totally aghast because I missed the November meeting, and when I saw the sign, I was shocked. I don't. In the future, I don't really think we should approve a sign that's originally intended to be a backlit sign because it just can't look like a historically correct sign. That's just my opinion.
I agree, Patty. I know in the past also we've worked with applicants on the font choice.
Yeah.
I think can have, I mean, when someone doesn't have a strong design element, like a branded design element, I know we've proposed, let's say a serif, a font with a serif, something a little more maybe historical. And we've had luck with that. We've had good responses from applicants with that. My thought is that if they're going to do a correction to coordinate with essentially new text to coordinate with the lamps and correct the typo, then, we could also propose a more historical font. What are your thoughts, Patty?
I totally agree, but so where do we go from here on the corrections that we need to make tonight?
Any other comments?
Because we did approve it last meeting, does it is that an issue with us then asking them to change the sign?
Right, because we're going back on what we originally said.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
However, they did not necessarily follow through with our conditional approval either. So,
I would make the stipulation about correcting the typo. If that was in our original conditions, that should be required before any further approvals would be made for the lighting. And then any redesign of the sign beyond the fixing the typo and working with the lamps would be voluntary on the part of the applicant. So I wouldn't say that we could put a condition on them to say, you have to choose a more historical font now. But I think we could ask them if
We
they
could
would.
ask them to do it since you're changing it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And they very well may just decide, I mean, I think we've had applicants like before who might just decide, if we have to change, if I have to do a new sign, I'm just not even going to do we just withdraw the application for the lighting. And that would be their decision. So my thought, Patty, I think to answer your question is we could either ask, we could reject this and ask the applicant to come back next month and be present to answer some of these concerns or to potential conditions. Or we could just write this up that, we could basically give a conditional approval upon resubmission of the rendering to show that the lamps coordinate with the text and on the condition that they will correct the typo with a new insert. And I say that because I don't want like a Sharpie. I think we could just put that in text as a condition of approval with a recommendation or a suggestion that a more historical font.
I mean, do we have a suggestion for a font? I mean, there is the factory font, which is probably more historical.
Yep, that would be good.
That's kind of about, era specific.
Yep. I think that
That's pretty widely used.
that or even anything, that's a good one. I mean, but anything even as simple as like Times New Roman, the universal font, just
Okay.
something with a serif.
Yeah.
I would, we could give factory as an example. So that would be my thought.
Yeah.
Put that in conditions of approvals that they would just need to resubmit the rendering to Pat. He could share it with us and if they would be able to reinstall or do the work. The one question here is, I don't see it in the prints, but did they include a fixture, a choice of the actual gooseneck in there?
I don't see an actual picture of the fixture. All I see is
Yeah,
this rendering right here, and then the fixing hardware.
hardware. So that would be one that we would typically request too, I think, is the actual fixture selection.
This seems to be for the actual sign.
Yeah,
It says aluminum body with channel lettering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's the color of the actual lettering. I know we're seeing after the fact, but I don't know if that could change. I mean, the yellow kind of stands out in a negative way, in my opinion. I don't know what it would be otherwise besides maybe white, but
this would just be again like a suggestion. I mean, I think that I would add to that if it is just acrylic, what I remember from seeing it in person, it's going to reflect the light.
It's gonna bounce right off it. Yeah.
Or you're going to get a glare potentially. So maybe again, maybe it's a matte surface and non-reflective surface, and colors, I guess I agree with you, but we could just make a suggestion. What would you, is anyone black and white? I
I mean,
probably,
this is an example of something that I think without the red, it's a little bit better.
without the red?
Yeah, I don't know if I would want the red. I would maybe want black, but I don't know.
Yeah, but in terms of like the design, yeah,
Yes.
I agree. The other would be, if you have the red brick, if you could zoom in a little bit, Ian. That would be, I think, a worthwhile suggestion, is to say, keep the black and either, white or a cream color to match probably some of the limestone details. Any other suggestions?
Well, I think it's really hard to debate this without the applicant here.
Is,
And first, first of all, like the lights, like they're not even above the sign, they're directly on the sign. They're actually covering the lettering of the sign. So I don't know how this is like really gonna work.
I'm making some notes now. I'm going to share them here, and then I can take a picture and share them with you all online. I'd love to just be able to provide notes on a conditional approval, give the applicant the time, the choice to agree to move forward with those, and not have to come back to us if we so agree. So I'm going to just mark this up and see if it's clear enough, and you all would agree that it suffices for a conditional approval. So I'm putting some notes here, like lamps shall not block visibility of text. Typo must be corrected. Um, My thought is, what if we simply give,
Yeah.
conditional approval with something like this, notes on the application. We could also mention colors.
yeah, I think that kind of exemplifies it perfectly. And then I would suggest, yeah, factory, and then I would say, keep the color to a white to black or white to simple. The yellow, I think, throws it all off. I would say that's perfect, because then shows you exactly where the gooseneck falls in line. Yeah,
Victor? All right.
yeah.
What about the font? Did you want to mention that as well?
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
I'm gonna text you a picture here, just one sec. Oh, that's right, that's right,
Yeah,
right,
it's
right,
true.
We add this, 2 more notes about the color and the fixture.
In the United States.
We have also in the past required the actually required the specific lighting fixture. They've been a point in contention where they don't come with the actual fixture model itself, because we won't know what they put in
Right.
Right.
without that being explicitly stated.
So I have applicant shall provide fixture specification. Um, and then prefer, what did we just say, white lettering?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you have the change of materials to matte?
That's good too.
Mhm.
Prevent glare.
Non-reflective, say. Okay. All right, Anthony and Patty, I just texted you a picture of the notes that I would propose we could provide the applicant and Pat Laverty for guidance, and then we could just clearly make sure we're very clear on the conditional requirements versus the suggestions.
Right. For the sake of note taking, the conditional requirements would be the lamps. Let's see. The lamps shall not block the visibility of the text. The typo must be corrected. The light fixture must be specifically stated, including color.
I would also say non-reflective signage material.
Non-reflective signage material
Yeah.
is part of the conditional. Okay.
And then yeah, and then the what you say, non-compulsory, the voluntary would be a new font and new color. Were you all able to receive that photo?
Yes, but it's hard for me to look at it on my phone, so I'll have to decipher it. But I'm trusting whatever you just said is clear.
Yeah, I can see it, Jake.
The location of the light relative to the sign is also part of the condition, as per your drawing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how we if the lamp shall not block visibility of text, I guess there's that would still give them a lot of leeway to potentially screw something up. So maybe can you propose how we could phrase that?
The lamps shall not block the visibility of the text to preserve visibility. As per demonstrated in the attached
Rendering?
rendering. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Then if that's someone would like to make a motion to approve condition upon these notes with additional suggestions, I think we could give the applicant the chance to move forward without having to necessarily come back next month. Of course, we can always make a note to Pat if there's any questions. We ask that the applicant appears at the next meeting. In essentially in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah.
Someone like to make a motion?
Yeah. I'll
Well-
make the motion.
Patty, you have some reservations?
Yeah, I do. I really think we should have the applicant come back because these are a lot of changes. And I think that if it's only 2 weeks, that we should ask them to come back and clarify everything to make it clear.
I think we should still communicate our reservations.
Yeah, and then
Um,
and say if they want to come back. Because then we're
The,
giving
the,
them
the
the
reason why I
option.
think we should do that is just so that because there are a lot of changes, it would be best that they come prepared with knowing what our thoughts are.
I think that makes sense. So I think we could communicate these notes and then either way, I think I think the truth is, Patty, we can't require someone to show up here. But we can, as a condition of approval, but we can continue to reject something until someone shows up. I think if we're unable to, that would be the right decision. If we have unanswered questions, there's not insufficient information, we would just reject. So I think what we could do tonight is essentially say, we could still provide the same notes, and rather than say it's conditionally approved, we could say rejected pending resubmission that with addressing a resubmitted application that addresses these comments. And we suggest that the applicant shows up at the next meeting to make clarifications. How does that sound?
Okay.
I mean, either way, we wouldn't approve anything without them resubmitting their application. But I think you actually make a good point that it would be the right thing to do. The safer approach is, rather than a conditional approval, a rejection with a path for approval, pending the resubmission.
I also agree because we did conditionally approve last time and what our conditions were not met.
Good point.
Yeah.
So then I guess, can we get a motion to reject this application pending the proposed corrective action and resubmission?
So moved.
Okay. Second, if we'll say Patty moves and Ian seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is old business, Boonton Gorge, natural landmark status, no updates as Elliot is unable to join today. After that, under new business is nomination of officers.
All right, nomination of officers. So unfortunately, Jeff Smith has resigned. We thank him for his service. And Patty, do you know how long Jeff has been on this board?
I think he said more than 15 years. Probably.
Well,
He's done his time.
he did say that he may come back at some point. So let's withhold all negative comments about Jeff.
Like we have actually.
I know.
That would never happen.
No, Jeff, thank you for your service and hope to see you back when it's comfortable for you. So I'm not sure how often this has been the habit here. Patty, you would know best of all. I believe that every year in January, the board is called to re-elect our officers, which is really just so the chair and vice chair. There's some questions about if the secretary wanted to also be chair or vice chair, could that, I think it would be, I don't think there's any, because the secretary for the HPC is a paid position, not, let's say, not an elected position, that I don't think there's a conflict should Ian want to also be chair or vice chair. But also, if Ian wanted to step down, because he is an appointed member of the board, if he wanted to step down, I just state this for everyone's edification. If you wanted to step down, Ian, at any time from secretary, as my understanding, you can do so. I don't know, whatever, based on whatever agreement you have with the town for the position, but we would just need to find a new secretary. We were without a secretary for probably over a year prior to you coming on board. So it wouldn't be the first time, but it's been great having you in that role. And great that you're also a member of the HPC. So I would, if you're thinking about also taking an officer role, great, but don't overstretch yourself. So do we have, I guess, we could start with the chair. Any nominations for chair? Anyone like to be chair or like to nominate someone for chair?
Can we just keep you in the position?
I would like to step down as chair.
Oh, okay, that's a whole other sticky wicket, all right.
Oh, boy.
I should note that Elliot has offered to take up the role again, if he must.
Okay, well, I would like to look into the fact if we could go for another month to nominate positions and readdress this whole thing.
So if we have more, we should basically have more people here is what you're asking for, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Have
mean,
more of
with
a
the
full-
theory, we could nominate and approve all absent members, which would serve them right. So,
So you want
Daniel, would you accept the vice chair if Elliot were chair?
yes,
Okay, so that's something to consider. And then we should look in if we could waive the nominations until next month.
I'm fine with that.
it's only 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Table it.
It's a reasonable thing to do.
And I'm happy to keep on as secretary.
Here,
Great.
That would be
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, yeah.
That's great.
So can we get a motion to carry elections till our February meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And any other, I guess, town council updates?
Mhm.
So we had the reorganization meeting, the first of this month. So what's new? The last meeting, actually, there's a couple of interesting things. I think in terms of development on Main Street, we have there are two National Historic Listing applications open, one for the Main Street District and one for the theater. There's a question came up recently on, I think the theater, the research for the theater application is just about done. And the council will have to decide if they want to move forward with that application. I think that the informal decision is that the council would wait to move forward with that application until they hear back from there's a third party company that is doing a business valuation on the proposed theater in Boonton. So essentially to determine the viability of the investment on the historic renovation and the ability of, an annual programming and operations to pay back the bonds for the construction of the renovation. So I think that we're supposed to hear back from that third party next month, and at least with an update on their study. And we'll know more then about whether plans to move forward with that national listing application or not. I don't think the Main Street, well, actually, the Main Street application is also would also be pending. I think it's not as there's more work to do yet on it. It's not as far along in the process, but it would also be tied to what the town wants to do with the theater. No updates on, there was a project on Main Street proposed, I think in November. No update on that project, new construction. 1015 Main Street, which we approved, the old veterinary office, which would now be a 2-story mixed-use building. Or is it 3-story? 3-story mixed-use building. That is approved by the planning board, and we imagine we'll see construction starting on that project soon, this year. The mayor is interested in this year pursuing tax credits for homeowners who do improvements to their homes. So, or delayed assessments on improvements, essentially to incentivize investment in our built infrastructure, private homes. So no proposal formally on that yet, but I think it's a great idea. I think it would be important for this committee to recommend, since so much of the housing stock in Boonton is of historic value, even if it's not listed in a historic district or as historic, I think we should come up with some proposals, if we're, incentivizing work on the home, homeowners to take action and invest in their home with construction projects. I think it'd be important to make sure that we're not essentially promoting destruction of historically significant porches, windows, facades. I think certainly at least the exterior face of the home, I think we should recommend some guidelines or proposals. And we should probably do that. I mean, we can, I would say, would anyone like to volunteer to come up with a short list of, or it could be a long list of proposed guidelines that we could discuss and propose to the town? I don't want to wait on it because when they're ready, they'll potentially move faster than we do.
So, yeah.
Any interest, any volunteers?
I mean, I can make a list.
I think, thank you, Rob. I think,
I live in a house that was built in 1901, so.
yeah, you don't, I would say, don't feel burdened. They have to do a bunch of research
No,
on
look,
it.
it's important especially for my type of house. It's being where I am on Church and Spruce. It's just that all the houses around me are like that.
And I think this doesn't necessarily have to be, some of us might want it to be restrictive, that you can't demolish a porch, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be,
We maintain the look and feel of the original porch if it has to be structurally changed.
I mean, currently, there's nothing protecting those structures. So here you could actually say, for something like removing vinyl siding and restoring your clapboard could be, a 5-year tax credit versus, putting new siding on is a 1 year or no year, something like that. Really just kick around some ideas. Think about the projects you want to get done.
Hey, Rob, I'd like to help with that too.
All right, it's perfect.
Brainstorm.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Great.
Zeke, if I could clarify, is the mayor proposing tax credits to the assessment of only single family homes, or?
I don't think it would only be single family.
The owner, whoever the owner
Yeah.
is, it just doesn't matter. Yeah.
Any property in
Okay,
um,
guess we need more information.
I mean, I don't think it would be restricted to a single family. I mean, it should be, if it's an older home that looks like it's not a single family, even though it happens to be maybe three, it doesn't matter. It should follow the same characteristics.
I may be missing an important
Okay.
piece of that, but I don't think there was any. I'm sure the impression I got was that the residential housing stock was the primary idea there. Homeowner gets pinched. You get sort of you do repairs and improvements on your house, and then you get your appraisal goes up and your taxes go up. So I think the idea there was more to come. But again, I think that it would be good for us to have. No one will ask the Historic Preservation Commission, "What do you guys think?" But if we,
So you want to be proactive is what it is.
I want to be proactive. I think
Right.
it makes sense that we should be concerned about losing valuable parts of the town history. But also we can propose, doesn't have to be restrictive. We can propose incentives. It's for others to determine how they want to assess the credits, but what would be some ideas that might get overlooked? I think porches, windows, other items.
Facade elements. Other facade elements.
Yeah. So great. I think that's, any questions on activity in the town?
Have you expressed this to the mayor as something that we would be interested in having?
Not yet.
Okay.
But it's absolutely the ordinance purview of this board is exactly that. Advise the town on matters of historic significance.
Should we be invited to that council meeting?
That's I think we should at least have a representative. Be outside of it'd be great if the chair came. There probably will be, a committee meeting where before it comes to the council, there'll be a committee meeting where that is reviewed with the town administrator, potentially some other, maybe Patrick Laverty, construction and zoning. So it would make sense that I would say, Graham, probably not our entire board, but if we set a subcommittee or a couple of volunteers, like Anthony, you and Rob, I think that would make sense for you to attend that's a Zoom committee meeting. It's usually, if it's the one I imagine, we could make a special meeting, but I imagine if it was a regular committee meeting, it would be 8 a.m. Zoom meeting on a Monday. But I think if that doesn't work, we could request a separate meeting. That's a good point. Okay, so that's concludes the council member comments.
I see no public members on Zoom. There's none in the building.
All right, would someone like to, any other comments or any issues anyone wants to bring up?
Just because I know Elliot would bring it up if he was here. Maxfield's Firehouse is now officially done with the renovation. There has been a event in it already, and I believe they're finishing up the last couple of elements, and soon will be open to the public to potentially use. So
That's great. You also remind me that the Broadfoot and Broadfoot renovation is largely complete. You take a look at that. That was nice how quickly they moved. And then also, I understand they did order the clock for the corner, and that will be coming. And then there was, I can't remember the address, but further northwest of that, of Broadfoot and Broadfoot, there was an applicant who came before the council a number of times
Okay.
on an application.
Oh,
We had
and
some,
it got a little bent.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that work is also done.
Oh, so we just decided to say, the hell with it and just do it.
No, I think my understanding was the last, if I remember, the last, maybe this was, yeah, there was the NPP coordinator, Laura Wagner, Pat Laverty, myself, had to smooth over some things to get him to comply. But he essentially did just move forward. But it's, I think other than, what we said about the lamp,
Right.
location, which we're not bound to make him change.
Right.
You should take a look. It turned out, I mean, like, it looks okay.
Okay.
Could look a lot worse, but, the problem with an application like that is you might have the best contractor in the world who's gonna do a great job, but, in a town with ordinances, you have to provide
Yeah.
part of the information of the application. We can't just take your word for it. But I would encourage you guys to take a look at that one too. Okay, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this time is 8:27. This concludes our meeting. Thank you.